Well, hello again. Kevin Moyers here for Bunny 17 Media. Another live video, just spur of the moment. Figured for fun, why not? I am in the middle of editing the last book for The Adventures of Casey and the Jackalope, subtitled The Last Unicorn, which you can pre-order now if you hit the links in our bio. But something occurred to me within the editing process, and it's that on the independent level, it's kind of a pain. So I wanted to give just a few thoughts on that and tips for you if you do need to do it yourself, which a lot of us have to do. First and foremost, everybody's going to tell you, you got to hire somebody, you got to hire somebody, you got to hire somebody. Yes, that is the best option. Hiring a professional editor is always going to give you an objective viewpoint on what you've done. It's going to give you somebody that does it for a living, most likely, and you're going to get probably the best results. I'm sure that's not always true, but most of the time, that's probably what you're going to get. And if you're going through traditional publishing, you're always going to have that, right? Which is funny to me because people talk about that like it's just an option all the time. Like, should I go traditional or self-publish? Will they have you? I mean, is that your option? Then go ahead, do what you want to do. But that's not always the option for everybody. So when you get to self-publishing, as we do, as we've started our own company here, you get a lot of, you got to do everything, basically. And you get a lot of financial hangups, of course, so hiring a professional editor isn't always an easy option for you. You can look for smaller companies. Red Pen Media, there's one. And it's founded by a college professor who is accomplished himself as a writer, so that's a great option for you. You can find them on Facebook. And there's smaller editing companies like that, or independent editors that you can use. If cost is a factor and you can do it, try to find someone to read what you've written. Now, I know that seems like you're being a pain to friends and relatives, and if you ask them 500 times, maybe they get tired of it. I get that, 100%. If that is the case, finding groups where people will volunteer to read for you is a good option. You may have concerns about leaks or plagiarism happening and somebody taking your work and things like that. There are a few groups that will read. You have to look them up. I don't know them off the top of my head, but that's not working on your timetable. They have to have the time because most of these are just regular people who love to read. So you can look up those groups. It's an option. If you have a friend or know another independent author, trade books. It has to be somebody who's writing you trust, of course, and someone you respect who mutually respects you. That's helpful as well. In our case, I do all the editing here, and I don't mind doing it. There is one problem, though. When it comes to my own work, I've had difficulties. Because think of it this way. If you watch a movie 50 times, on the 51st time you're watching it, you're not really paying attention because you already have the gist of the story. You already know. You probably know the thing word for word by that point. The same thing happens with your own writing. You've been over it and over it and over it. So when you're scanning through looking for mistakes, you're kind of glazing over it at times. And I've done it. So a few things, if you need to edit yourself, which, like I said, cost effective, maybe you don't have somebody to read it for you. That's okay, it happens. a few simple things you can do. Yes, do spell check. That's great. I can give you 2 examples where that not worked for me, and it's now published and printed. And while I can always go change it, that's an extra cost. And I will fix those things in later editions. In the last adventure of Casey in the Jackalope Part 3, Titan's Reign, there is a mistake where it should say the Thick Woods, and it says the Think Woods. It just is. So, and as I reread that book to make sure I had the right details for Part 4, which I'm editing now, I saw it and I was just like, another one. So, and in the Vigilantics superhero novel that I wrote, there is the word 8 where it should be the word at. So that little e, still a word, not the right word in the right place. And that's a longer book. I mean, that's over 200 pages. So stuff like that, you're just going to glaze over when it's your own if you're not paying attention. You have to pay attention. Word for word, every little thing. It's time consuming, yes, but it's worth it in the end. So make sure you're doing that. Print it. Print it instead of trying to edit on a screen. There's something about it, I'm not sure what it is, but when you're trying to edit on a screen, it's so easy to miss things. And talk about glossing over. You get the glare from the screen, it's just kind of this dull, yellow or white color, and it wears you down staring at that. Especially, like I said, 200 pages of that, it's a lot. So print it, find a way. I know, another cost, right? A few things you can do to offset that. If you are printing at home, obviously it's generally the cheaper way. If you can go to, Kinko's or something like that and print it, it's going to cost you something. But, if you're printing at home, you're going to burn out your ink cartridge and all of that stuff and go through paper. So one thing you can do is look at your setup, your configuration. So most of our books are about 6 by 9, right? That's great on an 8.5 by 11 page. It'll print in the 6 by 9 area, and you have a lot of room to make notes around it. If you want to use less paper, you can double-sided print. That's one thing that's helpful. You can also, say it's a 6 by 9 or a smaller size, you can also print 2 pages per sheet and print in landscape. It takes away room for notes, but if you're okay with that, then you use less paper. You're not carrying around a giant stack with you everywhere you go. And, as long as your font isn't affected to the size where it's too hard to read, you're saving a little money on printing a paper, especially if you want to print it multiple times. That's another way to do it. Sit quietly with a pen and paper, or a pencil and the paper, and make your notes. Pencil is best, of course, so you can erase, change things, because you might write, oh, this doesn't explain this, but then 2 pages later you did. And okay, I got it. I already covered it. So you make your notes that way. I'd show you some of my notes, but the book isn't out yet, so I don't want to spoil anything for the people looking forward to Part 4. Yeah. But this shorter book, kids book, and that's 1 page per side, so I can make notes, so Casey can make notes, as she did. She went through and edited first, and you have to have your co-author in it too. And that's another thing. If you have multiple people working on it, then get everybody to not only review and edit, but do it on the same stack. Do it on the same stack of pages. That way you can go through each other's notes. You're not repetitive. And from one to the next, you're just adding and adding and adding. It's like a real live Google Doc, okay? But with a pencil and paper. I use different colored pencils. If you have multiple people, say Casey uses red and I use blue. Great. Then we have our separate notes. And I mean, that's if you don't know each other's handwriting well enough, or it's too similar and you want to keep things separate. So, it's a hard thing to do. It really is. But if you're diligent, if you really focus, you really pay attention, then you can edit yourself. Again, it's always best to have somebody else do it. But if you're stuck in that situation, it is costly, self-publishing, but well worth it if you take the time and put in the effort and do the best you can at every angle. You're going to be very happy with what you do in the end. So thank you for listening. If you're on Facebook or Instagram, follow us. If you're on YouTube watching this, then please subscribe, like the video, and you can, as I said, get The Adventures of Casey and the Jackalope, Part 4, The Last Unicorn, at the link in the bio, and you can get the other 3 as well if you haven't read them. So you can get all 4. They're very reasonably priced, and they're great educational kids books. You'll see. But check it out. Thank you for watching, and please share this with a friend who might need this advice. And we'll see you in the next video. We got a lot coming on Facebook Live and YouTube and all that. So stay tuned. See you next time.